CHAKRAS.
We must understand that we channel frequency through our being. We channel higher dimensional frequency. I would call it love frequency through our being. And we don't just channel that frequency through our words. We don't just channel that frequency through our bodily movements. We don't just channel that frequency through toning and music. I'll speak about that at the end. But we also channel it just by being us in a space with another person, right? It emits as a energetic feeling from us without us having to do anything. For those people listening, I'm using my fingers here, right? If we open our channel with intention, and let's say we're using the goal of connecting to our sexual energy with a partner, if we open our channel and decide to express our frequency of love, they can feel that. Many of you feel this energy when you listen to this podcast. It's because it will be there whether I'm speaking or not. Welcome, beautiful beings, to season 2 of the Cosmic Love Antenna podcast with your host, Harrison Ma. This podcast sets the loving intention of creating the mystical space needed to pull back the layers restricting health, alignment, and love. Now let's walk you home to your cosmic spiritual heart space. Before we continue this beautiful chat today, wonderful souls, I need to jump in here to share something really exciting. If you've been following these episodes or you've been following me on social media, you know that I am in the process of releasing my first book, Your Cosmic Love Antenna, Define, Embody, and Emit Your Unique Frequency of Love. And at the time of this episode release, pre-orders are now open. If you have been pulled to this show, if you're looking to understand the what, the how, and the why of love, if you're looking to apply some of the tools connected to your chakras, inner child, releasing religious trauma, ancestral healing, emotional release, and so much more, then this beautiful expression from my heart to yours is for you. If you are looking to channel more of your unique gifts and the divine frequency that you are, these pages will open all of this up. And if you're interested, all you need to do is go to cosmicloveantenna.com. That's cosmicloveantenna.com. And you can pre-order this book right now. If you pre-order, click on that link, put in your email, you're going to get access to some special gifts that I'm only offering to those who get in before I release it fully. These gifts are going to be some more channeled meditations, activations, and some other surprises from my heart to yours. So head over to cosmicloveantenna.com, pre-order this beautiful expression, and I can't wait to hear how it shifts your life. If you're listening to this after pre-order sales, that same link can be also used to go to the direct purchase link. Sending love, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of this episode today. Good morning, evening, afternoon, magical beings. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another Solo-sode here today, continuing the chakras and your sexual energy series. These Solo-sodes, for the people tuning in for the first time, are a type of show I do here on the Cosmic Love Antenna where I, host Harrison, set the intention of creating the space where I shower you with loving tools, practices, insights within a particular theme that I know is going to help you pull back the layers restricting health, alignment, and love. And today's episode is going to do just that. Before I get into it, as always, I want to set the foundation here for all of the beautiful souls joining live, either on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, or for everyone listening to the podcast. Welcome. If you are joining live, leave your comments and questions as we flow. And I'd encourage you to share this episode out far and wide with a lover, a friend, a family member that you think it can support. And if you gain some value out of this, which I know you will, please feel free to go over to Apple and Spotify and leave your feedback. If this really hit your heart today, I'd love to know. I'd love to know what you want to see more of. What if these episodes really are bringing you so much value? If you leave this in reviews, I'll make new episodes, more chats around what you want to see and have more of in this show. So that helps build the conversation and the themes that I hit on. Speaking of themes, today's conversation, as I alluded to, is on all things your chakras and your sexual energy. This is part 5 of my chakra series and your sexual expression. This is a series I've been doing where I'm going to be sharing some chakra tools and tips and practices with the intention of starting to expand into your beautiful sexual energy, either by yourself or with a partner that you have in your life. Today's chakra focus is on the throat center. And I'm really excited to talk about this one because we are starting to get higher into the higher realms. And today's conversation, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about communication, reclaiming your inner roar, your integrity, word magic, and the inner child, allowing mouth pleasure, your hands and your arms, channeling, toning, and so much more. So make sure you stick around to the end of this episode, soak it all up, because I can already feel, because there's so much coming through me, you'll want to hear it all. And if it's anything like the last episode with the heart chakra, it's going to ramp up towards the end. So I hope you get so much value out of this today. Welcome, Josephine. Welcome, Jenna, in the chat. I see you there. Excited to have you here today. I am going to read a quick little review here from you, the beautiful community. Again, these are beautiful ways that you can support the show. And this is from the wonderful Seth, who was just on the show talking about galactic and angelic consciousness. This is Love the Vibes. This is a podcast that you feel as you listen. Delicious vibes of love embedded in the show that will take you to an expansive space. Love Harrison all day long. Well, Seth, love received, and I love you back, my friend. And thank you for the beautiful words. Okay, let's dive in. Let's get straight into it because I have so much to share today, and I'm going to try my best to keep it under an hour. So a quick little summary. Why is this important, right? Why do we even want to connect the chakras to your sexual energy, right? Again, I'll just hit on this quickly because I've talked about this in all the other parts. Your chakras are the bridge between your holistic being. So mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. If you're looking to expand any part of your life, today we're talking about sexual energy, but any part, the chakras are the way to do it, in my opinion, if you want to do it holistically, right? They help you emotionally release. They help you physically respond. They help you spiritually connect. They help you mentally unwind stories and limitations. Okay, and your chakras are the way to do that. And your sexual energy today, I'm going to be hitting on this in multiple ways. And I've talked about this throughout the other parts, but to summarize it here right now, your sexual energy is your creation energy. The degree in which you allow sexual energy into your life, through you, in you, around you, with your partner, with yourself, is the degree in which you connect to your creation energy and thus the divine spirit that you are. So it's important. Put very simply. I would encourage you to go back and listen to all the other 4 parts: root, sacral, solar plexus, heart chakra, and now this, because they build on each other. Right. So if you've been doing the other practices and now you're at the throat chakra, it's going to expand your experience. You can do them separately, but you are a holistic being. So I'd encourage you to listen to the other 4 parts and soak up all those practices. For example, in the last chat on the heart chakra, we talked about the balance of giving and receiving. We talked about sadness and grief, circulation, breaths, your angelic consciousness, your heart space portal, and your divinity, and more inner child practices. So go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. Okay, let's get into all things throat chakra here today. And as you're watching live, please feel free to leave your comments and questions as we flow, because I know some stuff will come up. So the first theme here within the throat center that I want to hit on and it's not going to be a surprise to any of you. It is the theme of communication. Communication in many different ways. So I'm going to break this down through a few different lenses here. First is each chakra has a polarity. What I mean by that is each chakra has a feminine expression and each chakra has a masculine expression. As an example, when we talked about the heart chakra, the balance of giving and receiving, right? The giving would be the masculine expression. The receiving would be the feminine expression. Here in the throat chakra, it is the same. This polarity exists as well. But in regards to communication and your throat chakra, the feminine imbalance that we need to look out for, because unfortunately most of us are not balanced in all the chakras, but specifically in the throat here today. So we must bring mindfulness to the imbalance so we can come back to alignment, right? Come back to awareness around that which needs to be seen. And the feminine imbalance of the throat chakra is that which we do not say or express, not speaking up for oneself, holding in your truth, holding in all of your beautiful, authentic expression. Through the physical body, and I haven't spoken about this yet, which is surprising for me, but I'll sprinkle it in here. This manifests in the physical body in many ways, but it manifests through the hormonal gland that is connected through to the chakra center. All of the chakra centers are connected to hormonal glands, right? The sacral and the root, adrenal, right? You got the heart and the thymus. Now you have the throat and the thyroid. The reason I bring this up in this moment is this feminine expression, not expressing that which we do not say or express, not speaking up for yourself, manifests as a symptom of hypothyroid, right? So holding in, right? Too little. So as always here, the first step here is awareness. The act of observation is an act of creation unto itself, where throughout, so let's use the lens of sexual expression here today, because that is what our intention is. In your sexual dynamics, either with yourself, your self-pleasure, or with the pleasure you express with your partner, what are you not allowing yourself to express? What are you not allowing yourself to speak? Okay, that's step one here. But let's talk about the masculine representation of the throat center. And I want to make this very clear. These aren't genders. So I'm not talking about the physical female or the physical male. I'm talking about the energetic divine feminine and the energetic divine masculine that is in both the physical male and the physical female, right? So whether you are a woman listening or a man, these polarities exist for you. Okay, so the masculine representation of the throat center is speaking. So you're saying things, but not being heard. Speaking, but not being heard. Left to cry with an absent caregiver is usually where this originates from. Right? If you are crying, speaking, expressing all the things, but no one was there to hear you. Your needs do not matter is usually a story that you play around this. Right? The speaking, the expressing, and then there's nothing there, nothing to receive, to hold. A story is created. But connecting the thyroid gland, right? This is hyperthyroid, right? Too much, right? And we're speaking, over speaking because we're not being received. We're not being heard. My needs don't matter. But let me just take this a little bit deeper though, because yes, the outside person matters to listen, to receive. But what's more important? What's the part of you that's more important in regards to you to listening? Is it more important for an external person to listen to you, or is it more important for you to listen to you? So this is the deeper representation of the masculine of the throat center. It's speaking to ourselves, but not listening. What does this mean? Going back to what I spoke about in the solar plexus, this is your story gap. This is your authentic truth moving through you, speaking through you, but you not listening to it. You not acknowledging it, right? You going left, or you going right when your heart says go left. So this is an internal speaking, internal communication, but is also the masculine representation of this. So again, solution here, and this is going to manifest in our sexual dynamics, right? Where is there something that you're looking to express and speak, but you are making a choice to suppress it? Okay, and the simple act here is creating the space to release, to speak, to hear you, right? And in your sexual dynamics, if you wish for your partner to receive you, if you want your partner to listen to you, to listen to your needs, then how we start to do that is by modeling that within ourselves first. We model listening to ourselves. We model creating a space and container for ourselves so we can show the partner what that looks like. Okay, so that's the key, that's the tip here around this, all this communication of that which we do not say or express, right? The feminine, not speaking up for oneself, and now speaking but not being heard. The key here is making a container to rebalance this either within yourself, or for your partner, right? Because you can create this container for them. You can do this for them so they can start to communicate for you and for themselves. That's why this is so beautiful. Jenna, you're saying, yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah, it goes deep, right? And I don't want you to get lost in all the words. Just notice how this makes you feel and follow that feeling. The other piece here with communication, with your throat chakra and your sexual energy, is reclaiming your inner raw. This is your authority, right? This is your power. This is your confidence. This is the energizing truth that we first define in our solar plexus, right? Again, go back and listen to that episode. I talked about this, but a quick summary, right? Your truth, your values, what makes you, you, what makes Harris and Harrison is identified and built in our healthy ego solar plexus. But now the throat center is where we get to share it with the world. We get to reclaim our inner raw, our authority. So the exercise that I shared in the solar plexus applies here. This is the third step. First step is defining the raw, defining the confidence, defining the value. Second step is mixing it through our heart center with love. And now third step is expressing it. Committing to express the thing, saying the thing that needs to be expressed in a balanced way. Remembering that you matter and drawing a line in the sand. And remembering that you deserve to speak that truth. And then finally here, with communication, with your throat center, is when we start to balance this, when we start to balance our masculine, feminine polarities of the throat center in our sexual dynamics with ourselves or with our partner, we start to reclaim our integrity. We start to reclaim our authenticity. Right? Because what does healthy feminine and masculine balance look like through the throat center? It's this. It's you do what you say you are going to do. You commit. You don't just speak the words, but you follow through. Right? You allow the feminine to move through the throat chakra in terms of what is the thing that's bubbling up, creative to say. Right? You speak it through the masculine polarity. You express it. You do the thing, but then you follow through. Right? So within the sexual dynamic, if you're expressing a desire that you wish to connect to with your partner, and that's coming from your heart, you express it, you share it, but then you do it. Then you engage in the desire. So this is the balance. This is the goal. This is where we end up. And it happens back and forth. It happens back and forth between the relationship. And that's, and last thing I'll say here with this, that's really how we create our reality, is in that tightrope between the two polarities. When we walk that tightrope, everything flows in our life. This is what it means to be in flow state. Flow state is walking that line where we are in alignment with those polarities and our life is manifesting in all the beautiful ways based off it. Let's keep it flowing. Just for people joining live, welcome. I see your beautiful faces. If you have comments, questions that come up, please pop them in the comments. Love to add them into this flow as we go. Next up here within throat chakra and your sexual energy, the next theme is going straight on from what I was just saying, constructing your creative reality with your words. So we must remember that our words create our reality. Either the words we are expressing through into the external world, or the words that we are speaking internally to ourselves. So I want to speak to this in this moment, and I will refer to it as word magic. I had the beautiful Laurel Erica on the show at the time of this release. I think it'll be out. We talked about this concept of word magic and how your words create your magical reality. Unfortunately, for most of us, they are creating a limiting reality because we're not monitoring them. We're not catching them. So within your sexual expression and energy dynamics with your partners or with yourself, it's important to look at the stories you are telling yourself through the words that you create. I will use the Shakespeare quote here. There is no such thing as good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And how this applies is the most fundamental state of reality is unconditional love. Right? God, that is you, that is in your heart, is made of unconditional love. So what does that mean? What that means is that God says yes. In regards to the stories and the words that you're speaking, whatever the story is that you're playing, whether we perceive it as positive or negative, God says yes. So there's no judgment, but you have to remember that you have just as much creative ability in creating a limiting world as you do in creating an expansive world. It's up to you to decide what you want. So we need to catch these stories of I'm not sexy, I'm not attractive, I don't deserve pleasure, I don't deserve a beautiful, intimate, abundant relationship, I don't deserve sexual creative expression. Whatever it is, you need to catch them, you need to release them and create better stories. A good place to start with this, and this will surprise no one here listening, is your childhood. Specifically, those 0 to 7, that 0 to 7 age frame before your mental capacity was formed, where you were just programmed with all the stories, all the beliefs around you, and you took on the unworthiness, the I don't deserve pleasure, I don't deserve, based off your caregivers, based off your culture, based off your religion, etc. So it's about connecting to that beautiful little inner child, asking her or him, what are the stories she or he is holding on to around your sexual energy, around your sexual relationships? and taking back your power, seeing the story, releasing it, and creating a new one. Because we all have this power. We all have this insight. Jen, I'm just reading your comments. These dynamics you speak to can play out in complicated ways in relationships. Yes, they can. However, that doesn't mean we can't move through them. I'll share this. I shared this with you yesterday, Jenna. I'll share this with everyone. Remember that one of the characteristics of your baseline state of divine love or your baseline state of bliss, one of the characteristics of that unified field of love that you are is simplicity. So if it seems complicated, and because of that complicated nature, you feel like you don't want to do it, I want to remind you that that complicated nature is an illusion. That you only ever have to take one step. You only ever have to you do one thing. And if you keep doing that, that's what helps us move through these relationships that are projecting and showing us these imbalances. Okay, I'm going to share another practice here in relation to creating better stories, starting to release old limiting ones. I had another beautiful guest on the show recently. Again, it should be out by the time this episode's on the podcast, Mr. Jason Picard. And we talked about the concept of not just affirmations, but afformations. And rather than speaking an affirmation of, I am beautiful and abundant and loving, and then noticing how that makes you feel, noticing the parts that are in resistance to that, that's a powerful practice, and we can use that for another day. An affirmation is adding a question to the affirmation, adding a question to a state in which you want to see more of. So, for example, within this sexual intention, an affirmation would be, why am I so sexually creative? Why do I keep attracting perfect soulmates? Why do I keep having such amazing sex? Why am I so divine in my sexual expression? The reason that this is powerful is when you assert a question, now both your inner reality, your unconscious and subconscious states, and the external mirror, which is the outside world of you, have to answer this question, have to give you the evidence of this state that you are affirming. See what I did there? Not affirming, affirming. So I would encourage you to practice these in the morning. You can do them at night too before you go to sleep, but morning is better because it sets up your day. And start creating a magical world that you deserve. Okay, let's keep it going. So much more to talk about. And I think I'm going good on time. Balanced. There's that masculine and feminine energy. Okay, next up here within the throat center and your sexual energy cultivation is allowing and experiencing pleasure with your mouth. So I'm going to speak about this in a few different ways. Obviously, to everyone listening, the mouth plays a role in the throat center, in the throat chakra. And the degree in which we can use our mouth to experience pleasure sexually with our sexual intention, we start to expand. Right? We start to open up this space. And the first thing I'm going to hit on here very quickly, because I don't want to go too deeply into this nutritional topic, but I'll put very simply, giving yourself permission and allowing yourself to receive and indulge in the pleasure of eating real, healthy, vibrant, organic food, whether it's fruits and veggies, whether it's ethically sourced meat products, if you decide to eat meat, allowing the pleasure that comes with that nourishing of self through the mouth in itself is a meditative, grounding, energetic experience. But because pleasure, sexual, sensual pleasure, isn't just in a romantic or sexual act, right? We can get just as much pleasure in other activities, right? So, and there are so many reasons we could speak about why it's so important to be mindful with your food in all the ways. But I'm just going to keep it narrow here and add it into this intention. So just giving yourself permission to receive the pleasure of eating nourishing foods that are medicine to you. Because most of us aren't doing this, let alone, most of us aren't, not only are we not eating the good foods, if you're like me, sometimes I do this, I'm eating the good foods, but I'm not present with the foods that I'm eating, right? I'm not allowing myself to give a prayer to the food. I'm not allowing myself to feel the food moving through my lips and my mouth and into my body. So just this practice can bring more expansion into the throat center and add a dimension to the sexual intention. But the piece I want to speak to more deeply here is in regards to the mouth and throat center and your sexual intention is pleasure in the sexual act with the mouth. And we can go to the very obvious spaces and places within a sexual dynamic with a partner of how we can either give pleasure with our mouth or receive pleasure from someone else's mouth. In our sexual regions, sexual organs, sexual erogenous zones, all the beautiful spaces. That is healing. That is activating. But I guess what I want to underline here, though, is going beyond that. Being more playful and curious with how you can, again, receive pleasure with the mouth and give pleasure with the mouth beyond the obvious erogenous zones, beyond the obvious lips, right? Beyond the obvious, whatever it is for you. Giving yourself, again, allowing yourself to give yourself permission to explore the curiosity and the play of the mouth pleasure. Because now what we're doing, and I'm going to connect something here for everyone. And this is why I said you need to listen to these episodes back to back in sequence, because the chakras don't work by themselves. When we add in the play and the curiosity with the mouth pleasure, either with ourselves or with a partner in our sexual act, we're now inviting in the inner child. We are now inviting in the sacral space, right? The sacral play, the sacral creative curiosity. So now we're doubling down on the healing, and we're making it a synergistic practice. So I'd encourage you to do this. And I encourage you to get curious and open with how you express pleasure with the mouth. Next up here is your hands and your arms. So it's easy to fall under the illusion that your communication of the throat center is just your mouth. And if you've watched any of my videos, at the very least, you know that communication is just as much of a hand experience, hand and arms, as it is just through the mouth. So the degree in which we now allow our hands and our fingers and our arms to expand our communication is also another avenue in which we start to open up through the throat chakra. Okay, so firstly, just that awareness can bring some shifts here. But the first piece I want to hit on is the connection between not just the throat and the hands, but the heart and the hands and throat. Many of the meridians, all the meridians actually, connecting to the fingers like the toes. But one of the biggest connections is your hands to your heart. And the reason that this is significant within your communication is we can infuse our love into our words. We can infuse our feelings, our loving presence through the expression and communication of our hands. So within your sexual energy and dynamics with your partner, with yourself, allowing yourself to communicate with your hands in a loving way. And this could be without words. Remember that most communication, I forget the statistic, but it's something like, I think it's like 70-80% of the communication we receive from someone is somatic, is body language. So when you're looking to connect to an intimate partner in a sexual way, and you want to communicate to them, understanding that you don't have to communicate with your words. You can communicate with your hands, with your touch, with your caressing, right? With your support, right? With your hug, with your, you get the idea, in which your hands can now be the pathway and the channel for your expression. And I say this for all the people out there that feel like you need to fill the space with words. You feel, again, because for many reasons, but maybe one of them is we don't feel enough when we're not speaking, right? We overspeak, going back to communication, right? We over the masculine, is too masculine in the throat center, which is filling all the space with words because we don't feel enough or worthy. Catch that belief in this moment, detract the words, and place your hands. Place the communication, because now it's also connecting to your love too. Another element to consider here with the hands is when you start to do healing work in these dynamics, in these relationships, sexual with another person or yourself, through communication, the throat center. With our hands, we must understand that in many systems, your hands are referred to as your slave joints. And what that means is they are the last place an internal challenge, energetic, emotional, mental, spiritual, they are the last place something will show up. What I mean by that is when we are experiencing within our sexual dynamics, our relationships, trauma, patterns of challenge, old wounds coming up, if we're noticing our hands shaking, if we're noticing our hands responding in those moments, it's a good thing. It's a good sign, right? It means that you're getting to a deep space. You're going deep. You're getting to a root. You're getting to a foundation of a challenge. And the hands are expressing that, are releasing that. If anyone's ever done any kind of holotropic breathing or breathwork practices, you might have experienced the cramping, the dinosaur hands, people often call them. A reason for this is because what is internally deep that's now coming up is now being expressed and released in the hands. So just something to consider as you're doing healing work within these dynamics in your sexual energy. The hands are very important in all the ways. Jenna, you're asking about nail biting. Yes. I would count that as something a bit deeper, my friend. What I would look at is around that, less about communication, more about anxiousness, nervousness, self-soothing, right, in many ways. So a little bit of the throat center, but I would look at more my intuitive senses in a child when it comes to the nail biting. And I'll connect to the communication that we're talking about. I would specifically look at, where does that nail biting occur? Does it occur after a specific conversation? Does it occur after a specific dynamic with a partner, family member, friend, etc.? That would be a good place to begin. Okay, let's keep it flowing. 2 big topics left to talk about. I should be able to get them in. Next up here, within your throat chakra and your sexual energy, I want to speak about the topic of channeling, one of my favorite topics. And I want to connect it into your throat chakra now, your throat center, and your sexual energy. And I'm going to start by saying, continuing the theme of sharing silence with people rather than filling it with words, it's important to understand that all of you listening, you're all channels. If you've been following the podcast for any certain amount of time, you probably have heard me reference the beautiful mystery school that I'm a part of, where I've gone on a big journey of activating my own channel. And I speak from that experience to remind you in this moment that channeling is not a gift. Channeling is a birthright that we all have. How we decide to express that channel, that's the gift. So the reason that this is connected to the throat chakra and the sexual energy is we must understand that we channel frequency through our being. We channel higher dimensional frequency. I would call it love frequency through our being. And we don't just channel that frequency through our words. We don't just channel that frequency through our bodily movements. We don't just channel that frequency through toning and music. I'll speak about that at the end. But we also channel it just by being us in a space with another person, right? It emits as a energetic feeling from us without us having to do anything. For those people listening, I'm using my fingers here, right? If we open our channel with intention, and let's say we're using the goal of connecting to our sexual energy with a partner, if we open our channel and decide to express our frequency of love, they can feel that. Many of you feel this energy when you listen to this podcast. It's because it will be there whether I'm speaking or not. Okay, and we can all learn to do this, to share this love frequency through the channel that we are in our sexual dynamics. Okay, that's just one form of this channel. Just the emitting as the cosmic love antenna that you are, emitting this frequency from you, from your heart to whoever gets to experience it. In this instance, a sexual partner. But there's more to this. Let's add on some extra layers here though. So another way to channel that frequency through you in the sexual dynamic is through singing, right? It's through singing and expressing. And I'm going to speak about toning at the end, but I just want to pop this in here, right? Understanding that if you are a singer or want to be a singer, that your singing can be a soothing practice that you can incorporate within your sexual dynamics to express more of your love. It doesn't just need to be a creative act. It is that, but it could also be a channel for your love that you wish to share, either with yourself or with a partner. Another example is light language. A lot of you listening, I know, have either received this or practiced this. That can also be incorporated here. into the sexual dynamic. Maybe you could share it, receive it, go into meditation together. But the last piece here with this channel that I want to speak to, again, this is more of a larger topic. Each of your throat centers, each of your chakra centers, example being the throat chakra that we're talking about, throat center, each of them are receivers and emitters. Each chakra is a receiver and an emitter, or a receiver and transmutes, gives out. Why that is important to understand is coming back to the channel concept. Each portal, each chakra center now becomes an opportunity to express a different kind of your channel. Okay, so the heart, the throat that we're speaking about, we're using our words, we're using our voice, we're using our song, we're using our tones. If we can see this and we understand this receiving and transmitting, when we apply this to the sexual act, our sexual dynamics, our sexual partners, what we can learn to do is receive higher guidance within our channel internally, ask a question, receive the guidance through the throat center, and then transmit it out into the sexual act. Let me give a very specific example just to highlight this practice. Okay, let's say that you are in some sexual play, some sexual pleasure with a partner, and that partner has asked you to make love to them in a way that hits your deepest desires. You personally, them hopefully, but you personally, they've asked you. And let's say that you have there's a lot of trauma and a lot of wounds and a lot of fear that comes up when this question is asked. This is where we can apply this practice. In that moment, you can go within, open your channel, and ask for guidance. From what? Not something outside of you, not a guide, an angel, an ancestor. That's beautiful, but that's not what we're doing in this moment. You're asking from guidance from your internal space, from your internal parts of you, from your internal higher consciousness aspects. What's an example of this? This would be your higher self, right? That your higher self could come in. You ask, higher self, what do I do? What is my desire? What step do I take? What should I express in this moment with my partner that I love? Receive. Receive through the throat center. Receive that communication. Receive that guidance. But then finally, step 2 is what? Is transmit it, is share it, is embody it, right? In this case, with your partner, right? In the act that comes through, in the guidance that comes through your body. It might, and this is where it comes back to the other part I was saying, it might come through, the guidance might come through as something to communicate and express. The guidance might come through as a movement to move through. The guidance might come through as maybe you need to express something tonally, right? Many ways, but just highlighting this process here. Receiving and transmitting. And we all have this power as the divine channels that we are. And each chakra center becomes a portal and a vortex and a opportunity to transmute any shadows that we may have around certain activities, in this case within the sexual expression, to bring in higher consciousness and share it with someone that we love. Let's move on. Next up here finally is the last theme and practice I want to share here is some toning and some breath work. So as you've been listening to all the different parts of this chakra series, each chakra has a way to activate itself through breath, through breathwork practices. And the throat center is interesting because we don't just want to use breath work through the throat center. We also want to incorporate toning and using tone to stimulate not just other people, but ourselves within the sexual environment. So the first practice, breathwork toning, that I want to share here is doing an Om meditation. And I think we're all familiar with the tone and the mantra that is Om, right? Om, Om. I encourage you to practice it as 3 or 4 syllables rather than just 1 syllable. But when we repeat this mantra and this tone vocally, either by ourselves as a meditation, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, or we practice it with a partner in meditation, a sexual partner, we're doing something very interesting. And I'll put in the show notes a podcast I recorded with Ian Morris talking about frequency healing, sound healing and frequency healing. In that conversation, we talked about music and frequency's ability to resonate with us and heal us and bring up that which needs to be seen so we can step forward. And one of the mechanisms for this healing of toning and umming and adding sound to our being is through the water that we're made of. We're made of, depending on who you talk to, a very high percentage of water. When we chant, when we tone, and with a very specific mantra, I'm going to share another one here soon that's even more powerful than Om, but whatever the mantra is that holds a resonance, when we repeat that mantra for an extended amount of time, we're now imprinting ourselves and our body that is made of water with that resonance, with that frequency. So as an example, when you do that Om meditation for 15 to 20 minutes, just repeating the Om, just continuing, not doing anything else, adding in your breath in between, but that's it. You end that meditation, and I won't spoil it, but you feel very different. And a part of that is because you're entraining your body and the water that exists in it with the frequency that is the Om. So connecting it to the sexual act here and our sexual intention, the more mindful that you can be to add your tone through the breath and the throat chakra in the sexual act, either with yourself or with a partner, you start to raise literally the frequency of you and the person. So this in itself is going to shift a lot of things. One of my favorite mantras at the moment to practice is not just Om, is Om Sat Chit Ananda. Om Sat Chit Ananda. And this mantra, translated very simply, means truth, consciousness, bliss. Truth, consciousness, and bliss. If you repeat this mantra in the way that I just described it, in a duration, a longer duration, what you're opening yourself to is the baseline state of not just love that you are, but blissful consciousness that you're made of. Bliss is not, when I say bliss, I don't mean fleeting happiness triggered by external experiences. I mean the bliss that you are birthed and made of. So when you cultivate and allow this mantra, there are many others, but this is my go-to. When you add this in to your sexual practice and you express it and you share it and you use your tone, you use your breath to extend it, you are now opening yourself up to the larger reality of what you are. All just by repeating a tone. So use the power of the throat chakra in this way. Use the power to tone and breathe in this way. And if it means, if for whatever reason this is very foreign to you, you can start by just internally repeating it, right? Using your internal voice. Om, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Just repeating it internally until you feel confident to add that into your practice. Again, either with yourself or with your partner. All right, we did it. Beautiful beings, that's everything here for me today on all things throat chakra and your sexual energy. As always, I hope it brought you guidance and love. I would encourage you, with all of these themes that we've talked about today, to not just listen and receive them in your heart. Take action on what it has inspired and brought up in you. I spoke about many tools, many practices, many deeper states of awareness. So go do what it brings up in you and let me know how you go. Always open to feedback. Again, if this stimulated you in a certain way, you can leave it over on Apple reviews and you can give your guidance and what you want to see more of. I'd love to see that and read that. A reminder, I do this for a living in my own mentoring and coaching. So if you're looking to go deeper in any way on this, please reach out, DM me, and I'll see if I can make things happen and we can spend some time together to open you up to your deeper states of spiritual love. Just checking, Jenna, I see your beautiful comments. Thank you for holding space, my friend. Happy it brought you loving guidance. All right, wonderful beings. Until next time here on the show, I send you love, I send you light, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Love Antenna with me, your host, Harrison. If you gained value or this episode hit your heart, please remember to share this out with a friend, a family member, or a lover. You can also leave your love over on Apple reviews and Spotify star feedback, and this helps me spread my frequency to more souls in need. Finally, if you want to connect with me deeper, want to reach out, interested in coaching, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Harrison Meagher, Meagher spelled M-E-A-G-H-E-R. Sending you so much love.
CHAKRAS